The mothership descended over New York City on a Tuesday morning, which, as far as the 7 billion humans on Earth were concerned, was the single most inconvenient day of the week for an alien invasion. Mondays already had a reputation. But Tuesday? Nobody even had a plan for Tuesday. Commander Zyra stood at the helm of the Galactic Dominance 4, her 4 violet eyes scanning the primitive blue orb below. Beside her, her senior officers, Joe, the tactical genius, me, the xenolinguist, New York, the weapons specialist, Day, the ship's historian, Hi, the medic, and Wa, the navigator, all stared at their screens in absolute awe. "Begin the fear broadcast," Zara said, her voice smooth and commanding. Me cleared 2 of her 4 throats and activated the planetary speakers. The message, translated into every human language simultaneously, boomed across the sky. "Citizens of Earth, you have been selected for assimilation. Resistance is statistically pointless. Surrender immediately." There was a pause. Then, from the streets below, they heard it. Cheering. Joe was the first to notice the anomaly on the scanner. "Commander, they are celebrating?" Zyra leaned forward. On the visual feed, humans were flooding into the streets, not running, not screaming. They were pointing at the ship and taking photographs with small rectangular devices. Some held signs. One sign read, "Take me with you. My boss is worse than you." "Me," Zyra said slowly, "is there a translation error?" Me reviewed the broadcast. "No, Commander." The message was clear. New York pulled up a secondary feed. On one channel, a human news presenter was saying, "And we go live to Times Square where, remarkably, thousands have gathered to greet our new extraterrestrial visitors." Day, the historian, scrolled through human cultural records at furious speed. "Commander, I think I understand. This species has been anticipating us. They have made hundreds of thousands of fictional simulations, they call them movies and books, about exactly this scenario. And?" Zyra pressed. "And in most of their simulations," Day said carefully, "they win." Silence fell across the bridge of the Galactic Dominance 4. That was when Max entered the picture. Max was, by any objective measure, a completely ordinary human. He worked at a sandwich shop in Brooklyn. He had 17 houseplants, a second-hand bicycle, and an encyclopedic knowledge of alien invasion films. When the mothership appeared over Manhattan, Max grabbed his camera, a notebook, and a thermos of coffee, and walked calmly toward the beam of light descending from the sky. The Galactic Dominion's first contact protocol involved projecting a single soldier to the surface, the most terrifying specimen of their military, clad in armor that had made entire star systems weep. The soldier materialized in Times Square and stood 8 feet tall, crackling with energy, its helmet shaped like the skull of something that had never been kind. Max looked up at it, sipped his coffee, and said, "Cool suit. Is that carbon fiber or some kind of alien polymer?" The soldier, designated High 7 on the manifest, though Max would later just call him High, blinked its 3 eyes. This was not the reaction in any scenario it had trained for. "I am a herald of the Galactic Dominion," High 7 announced, "and you will." "Do you guys need Wi-Fi?" Max interrupted. "Because the signal up here is garbage. I've got a hotspot." Aboard the ship, ZY watched this exchange with growing discomfort. "He is not afraid," was said, navigating slowly through the footage from multiple human cameras now broadcasting the encounter live. "None of them are afraid," Me whispered. Day pulled up more records. "Commander, I have found something in the human archives. They have a phrase for exactly this kind of individual." She paused. "They call them chill." "What does that mean?" "It means, they have metabolized existential dread to a degree we have never encountered in any sentient species." Max, meanwhile, had gotten High to sit down on a park bench. A street vendor nearby, Joe, a human named after nothing more exotic than his grandfather, had wordlessly handed the 8-foot alien soldier a hot dog. Hai held it with 2 of his 6 fingers and stared at it. It's beef, Max said helpfully. Or possibly mystery meat. Either way it's fine. Hai bit into it. There was a pause. What is this flavor? Hai asked. Mustard, Max said. You're welcome. Up on the ship, New York was frantically recalibrating the fear weapons array when an alert pinged across every screen simultaneously. The humans had started a hashtag. It was trending globally. #AlienBrothers. Commander Zyra stared at it. Then she stared at the live feed, where Max was now showing Hai how to take a selfie. Me, she said flatly. What is a selfie? A self-portrait captured on a handheld device, shared publicly for social validation. And our herald of death is taking one. With the human. Yes. #AlienBrothers hit 300 million posts in 40 minutes. Zara descended herself. She had to. If her herald was compromised, she would handle it personally. She materialized in Times Square in full battle regalia, 12 feet tall, armor gleaming, surrounded by a halo of electromagnetic force. Max looked up, finished his coffee, and said, "Oh wow, you must be the commander. Love the energy. Very District 9 but make it fashion." Zyra opened her mouth to deliver the formal proclamation of conquest. Instead, she heard herself ask, "What is District 9? That was her first mistake. 45 minutes later, Commander Zyra of the Galactic Dominion was sitting cross-legged on the sidewalk watching a movie on Max's laptop, flanked by Hai, Wa, who had teleported down uninvited, and New York, who had come to retrieve Wa, all of whom had somehow also acquired hot dogs. Day had begun furiously cataloging everything for the historical record. Me was interviewing street pigeons with a translation device. Joe, the human one, had started charging aliens $5 for photos. It was Day, back on the ship running analysis, who finally delivered the critical report to Commander Zyra's communicator. Commander. After full review of human military history, entertainment archives, social behavior, and combat psychology, I have reached a conclusion. These beings have survived ice ages, pandemics, world wars, economic collapses, and each other. They have turned every disaster into a meme. They are not afraid of us because they are constitutionally incapable of recognizing when they should be. They adapted their entire psychology around one core principle: if it didn't kill them, it's funny now. I strongly advise we reconsider the invasion. Zyra read the report twice. Then she looked at Max, who was currently teaching Hai how to play rock paper scissors. Hai, with 6 fingers, was absolutely destroying it. What Zyra said into her communicator, plot a course home. Confirmed, Commander. Should I log this as a failed invasion? Zyra watched Max laugh at something Hai said. It was the most genuinely unguarded sound she had ever heard from any species. Log it, she said, as a tactical withdrawal due to insufficient fear response from target population. There was a pause on the line. And she added. Yes, Commander? Book us a return visit. Non-military this time. She paused. And find out if this mustard substance can be synthesized. The galactic dominance 4 rose silently into the sky as the sun set over New York. Below, the city watched it go. Max took one final photo. Posted it. Caption: hung out with some aliens today. Solid dudes. August 10th would recommend. Hai wants the mustard recipe. 42 million likes by morning. The galaxy, it turned out, wasn't ready for humanity. Humanity, as always, was already writing the sequel.